Good morning. All right. Well, pretty quiet. I think the markets are down a little bit, but last week was kind of a drift in place there, with a little blip up and down there. The upside stopped right at the pivot and getting pretty tight. You know, pivot low down here, pivot high getting tight, lower, pivot high, pivot low, little higher there, and it's going to break one way or another. Let's hope. Otherwise, we're going to be pretty darn bored. And, it is coming up on the holiday, so likely to, be lower volume. Got to be careful of the whipsaws and so on and so forth. But anyway, still dealing with this pattern of the igniting bar to the upside down here, rejection from the 200, got close to it. Maybe too many people looking for 4,100 to get tagged. Our internals did give us a heads up right there as it popped up there. Remember over the last few weeks, like through here, I guess a month or so, just talking about, hey, you know what, here's this igniter and, continuation, and option traders just not stepping up there with the call options as they typically do. And on the split continuation move up there, well, they did, and internals came together and things have been working it off. So what often happens, and this is a little bit of a different pattern, meaning many times what we see is on an igniting move up, breath will drift back down toward the zero level. Now this has gone sideways for a while, so it's different. Whereas it spikes up like that to get to an extreme, and it comes down to a zero, and that's where you get the continuation. Whereas this time it went sideways, which is a little more bullish, but that sideways price action has been going on for a while. And it's kind of like a consolidation that you expect to go higher and it breaks lower. But through the eyes of this internal gauge telling us, if we go and look at a whole bunch of stocks, there's overhead resistance to deal with. But right now, it's just marking time, and clearly, top, bottom, void below. And if it should break here, it's should go quite a bit lower. And, step by step, we'll see what happens at 3,900 held, and 3,800, and we'll see. Right now, just not much of anything happening. Spiders, same story. Rejection. Gap down, got bought. It looked like it could come down here, and it didn't. So kind of visualize a triangle. The lines are getting tighter. Winding the spring, see which way it's going to break, and so we wait and look for different stocks. Right now, this is not the place to even, in my opinion anyway, to look intraday for opportunities to trade this particular index, not unless it was to spike down here, then maybe get some bottoming action where it might bounce back up again from the bottom of the range. And SPX, I got written down here. The upside isn't very attractive. 4015 had some premium, but it's a little too tight, but it is resistance. To get up there would be rejected. So, so the bad thing is it won't be able to go up much before it gets to that strike. Whereas, we look to get above there, but with that resistance at that point, and really not much of anything, I think, to motivate it today to keep popping. You could do it, but it's just too close for comfort. Whereas, yeah, if it moves up, McGraw, yeah, a little above that area. But down below is exactly what I have written down to 3890. So, at least it's below 3,900. Yeah, exactly. Above 4,000, below 3,900. But, it's getting tighter. Whereas, we wouldn't call it, hey, absolute no brainers. What if it just stays in the range? Okay, all good. Whereas, you get some kind of a move like this. Remember, on this day, there was premium way down here. So right away, it was like the juice just exploded down here, which made it a no-brainer. Whereas today, are those within striking distance? You'd have to say, yeah. I mean, this thing could move that far. So is it likely to move that far today? I think not, but that isn't a fact until we see the end of the day. And it is what it is for now. And same story, drifting, stopped at the pivot, came down to the other pivot. It's hanging down here at the lows, which, kind of suggestive that, look, it's been here before and it had the spike down underneath it. It got rejected at a lower level. It's hanging down here. So will it break? Originally, as this topped out, we were thinking, hey, come down here to the converging MAs, and that's still a possibility. And if I drag this down here, right to that little congestion area, that's where the S&P stopped. You see the crosshairs are right there at those moving averages. So that's a good spot. Now, the bad part is, rather than coming down after the rejection day and coming directly down there, this is what I was talking about with the internals. You see something like this, and it's like, it was basing, at the highs, bullish. Maybe the markets will keep going, but it breaks down. And this is what you see here, that consolidation, here. And now you got all that overhead resistance, should it come down here? Now you've got all this overhead resistance to deal with rather than it coming down directly. The V kind of a top versus this being, well, I can't call it a rounding top, but squarish, if you will. But, and what often happens, or what we like to see happen with a situation like this, is if it comes down here, whereas if it had come down from the V, it could make a V bottom. Whereas now that it's got this congestion, what you want to see is it spend a couple of days. So just thinking out seasonally that, before the holiday and after the holiday is things are historically positive. If it was to come down here today and, tomorrow and Wednesday jiggling around and so on, Wednesday's got economic news, maybe that's set up a move back up. We just have to see how it unfolds. Right now, markets aren't providing us any great opportunities as far as this goes. SPY, you can make money with 1 or 2 point move. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're an intraday trader, sure, scalping, yeah. But with patterns like this, TV Duck, you see the erratic price action. Here going to smaller time frames. This kind of erratic price action. You got to wait, for things to kind of settle down. Right, the end of the day it was like, okay, nothing's happening. You're getting, which way is it going to go? Who's going to blink, buyers or sellers? And you had that little blip up there at the end of the day. Or, you don't get sustainable or trending moves. But if you're nimble, you could always find something if you're nimble. And, Russell, same story. And, kind of the rejection there, just inside day here, and because, this consolidating as it is versus the drift that we see in the others, I mean, this could make a pretty quick move down to the bottom or near the bottom of that wide range bar. And, this a little overlapping opens and closes here. You see where it stopped, not much, but, it stopped there and then came up to the pivot high, look to the left, things are tight, sleepy markets, and Bitcoin, teetering on the edge of the cliff there, 1, 2, 3, lower, monthly chart. There's the destination. And so how does that play out into the scenario that we see right now? Should this actually, break below 15,000? I think that's got to be somewhat unsettling. Something we'll keep an eye on. Set an alert, put it in a thumbnail, see what happens there. Just kind of waiting. Is this going to break lower down to 3.8? An igniting bar down, just like we had the market's igniting bar up. So consolidating at the lower part, suggesting lower. If it pops back up, so keep an eye on this. I don't watch it really during the trading day. It's the 10-year that's mostly in focus, but just keeping an eye which way this might go. Of course, which way is the dollar, gonna go? Had that nasty crack, coming down here, down to this major support level. Make it a little clearer, would be the obvious stopping point. And so if that plays out, if it holds here, what we'd want to see, right? Just thinking about the seasonality of the holiday, and typically, bullish day before, bullish after. And, it comes down here. That would be, good. The markets could go up. If it gets down there early, maybe the positive holiday thing doesn't work out. I don't know. Sometimes things invert. So when we're looking at so many things doing nothing, obviously there's that indecision in the market, which makes us indecisive, because if nothing's moving, what are you going to do? Right? Stand aside or look for something else that is moving. It's the bottom line. But when it gets down there, it's going to stabilize, and we know the markets haven't liked the dollar going up, and it's obviously had this crack. And so we have to keep an eye on all of these intermarket relationships, even from an intraday point of view. Silver, this just may be the time, this inflationary point where, and wouldn't it make sense, just the illogical parts of the market is that here we've had all this inflation, gold has done Zippo, and now they're talking about, okay, we've hit the peak. If they're right, of course, we've hit the peak in the inflation and starts to back off. And now inflation, maybe does peak, but stays where it is, give or take, and silver and gold now bring up the rear, where it's been going down, all year. Igniting bar. No igniting bars here. A little minor one there, further down. And so this is what I'm talking about. V tops pulling back, rather than going sideways, pulling back and then looking for that turning point, which would make sense to be, buy gold and see what happens. And, of course, GDX looks actually better, the gold miners. It cleared the pivots. So buying this ETF on a little dip, and gold mining stocks, right? NEM is one mostly looked at, but look at that. That looks great. Weekly chart. Igniting bar, rejection to the downside. That's a buy. It's whippy. I'm going to give it some room. That looks good. Steven's telling me natural gas is spiking this morning. I don't know. Do I have that? Typed the wrong symbol. Yeah, a little spike up, a messy range there, But yeah, for intraday, sure. Crude oil almost down to the major support level. We'll see. I guess that's about it. No bonds. We looked at interest rates, but and up. Interest rates came down, consolidating at resistance. Like this is going to go up, yields down. Markets should respond in a positive way. And so far, they're just sleeping. They're sleeping. So we'll see what else is moving in stocks. Right now the markets are just deciding what they're going to do. And it's holiday, so all yours, Dan. Does range refer to vertical distance between highs? Russell, range would refer to that as well as an individual bar. That's a range expansion bar. And whereas we can look at ranges between pivot highs and lows, and then here we talk about voids. So each of these technical analysis concepts that we talk about is what we utilize to create trading strategies. Go ahead, Dan.
What's your telling?
Good morning. I mean, I'm glad we're off to a slow start here. I don't like gap and goes, etc. So this will make the if we do play the bullish side, they'll make it better because then we have more data here to support a base and red bars ignored and so forth. So I have a lot of bullish setups here. And hopefully it's the scenario if they're not going to trigger unless they're going to move that way. Disney is the big news of the morning at least on the Dow 30. It's up $8-9. Everything else on the Dow 30 is flat or negative. Change of CEO. I mean, that has to make you feel good that, I mean, almost 10% gap just because you have a new leader. I mean, that's quite an endorsement to your abilities of changing shareholder value. That's for sure. Well, I have no idea. We'll keep an eye on it. Just saw this little guy going. Just blasted off here pre-market. We'll come back to you. ELP is a monster move this morning. Look at that on a weekly, well, on a weekly chart, it's going to be a big gap because today's Monday. If this move happened on Friday, then it would be a monster engulfing bar on the weekly. Grinder here, I'm just assuming this is the new dating app that McGraw's been waiting to come out. SPAC, obviously. And then boom on Friday. So McGraw, but you still have Match and Bumble. Now you got a trilogy, I guess. But look at this thing, went to $70. There was some pent-up energy for that thing. Let's see. First, sent me a couple of you all sent me some nice ideas that I winnowed down and put in here as a watch list. QGen 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. Gap and go and going sideways. That looks great. Cuervo Gold. There's a couple of patterns like this. Nice engulfing bars and right at resistance, but there's still upside daily, weekly. And Flex, sloppy breakout. Bull rectangle. Breakout, daily, weekly, monthly. Nothing wrong with that. This nerds here, little bull flag, engulfing Friday, closing breakout. Well, Thursday was engulfing. This has room to $16. Nerds. With a Bitcoin down. I mentioned in the weekend letter, I mean, this weekly, monthly on coin, look at this. That's a head and shoulders on a downtrend on the weekly. That looks horrible, coin. Now it's gapping down. We've been, of all the fangs, Tesla's been our favorite weak one. Weekly, monthly, I think, have plenty of room to fall. And now it's the weakest here pre-market, but gapping down $4. If this thing using pre-market data, if it goes sideways for 30 minutes and cannot bounce over this little shelf, if it can't get over 176 for an hour, oh wait, it's 176 right now. Well, you know what I mean. If it can't bounce much, 30-minute low, that looks bad. VMware, was a bottoming pattern, broke out, pull back, little buy setup, that's holding well. Maybe 30-minute high. Myrna, I had on my short watch. Well, that's not true. I have it on a bear call credit spread watch. Climo rounding top, and look at CWeb as China. So China's back in the picture with additional corona cases. Q's breaking out right now. Well, all four horsemen are in the 5-minute. And so this is actually a good sign. When I first saw the corona news, I thought this was going to be up, and it's not. So this is a gap down and going sideways. So this could be a day trade short, and also call spread for Friday. This short week, we're off Thursday, only a half day Friday. Equities close at 1 o'clock. It's it's down 5 bars, green, but it does look lower. I like Veru better just because it's tighter here and you got a topping tail on Friday. So I like that better. And GSM needs to go sideways more for me because you got far from the 20. So we can check out Chinese stocks. But I'm very, I was going to say this could have been a short too, but it's on my list here because it's a shock pattern. Look, this is a shock gap up. SHC, that looked like it's on a death trend. And I don't know what the news is today, but if it can hold this gap, then there's room to 10 to 12. So whatever news is out, looks like it's saving that thing. Uther, McGraw, you gave me a couple. I think this one was yours. It's strong, but notice all this resistance. So it just needs to go sideways more is all. Shillis is too far from the 20 for me, but it's a bullish weekly. Strong, but I mean, look at the weekly. That's like a wide range ending. Sanmina. So it is strong, but I would much rather trade it down here where it's rested more, closer to the 20. So that I just think we can find better that aren't as extended. Hallow's not as bad, not as extended. Bullish daily, weekly, monthly, so that's worth watching. GFS. Gap reversal, is at the prior high, needs to go sideways, but bullish weekly. Bizler's been a beast. This is the best performing tan solar stock. Technically not a 1, 2, 3 because it closed above the high, but nevertheless, it's all-time highs. Looks great. Uther, we talked about. Mobley, I like. It's a buy setup after an IPO. So that I like. Thursday and Friday's high are so close that I would wait for it to take out Thursday's high. MedP, nice consolidation after this pro gap. That's worth watching, McGraw. That's yours, I think. Oscar November, a buy setup, bullish daily, weekly, monthly. That's worth watching. Now that it's gapping down, I'm gonna set an alarm at 72.70. Papa India, same. It's a big, it's a bull rectangle. But there's nothing to do right now unless you're selling it out of the money put. It needs to go sideways more. But because weekly, monthly is bullish, it's worth watching. Pod, little bull flag here. Here's my flag pole. 30-degree counter trend. That looks good. See, I had a hard time finding shorts. DGII breakout daily, weekly, monthly. It's a little sloppy, but it's worth watching. Urban, I think, had earnings today. We'll come back to it, but breakout daily, weekly. WSM got a downgrade, no pattern. Disney we know about. NUE, Alex gave me a couple here. I saw these metals gapping down. Set an alarm at 143. I saw Alcoa down here also. So metals gapping down a little. This one I like, PLD. It broke out, buy setup. I'm going to put that in the window here. So that looks good. ANET, I posted as a long. That looks great over the high breakout. COP 125. Yeah, let's just see how it plays out. ETN is a what we call a churning uptrend, but it's very strong. MSI broke closing breakout, but it's up 3 bars, but looks higher. Juniper closing breakout looks higher. Breakout daily, weekly. Munster, that's a bull rectangle. Flagpole, well, or ascending triangle. You see the higher lows here. It doesn't matter. It's bullish consolidation. Looks great. I'm going to put that in the window. I got a couple of alarms going off here right before the market's opening. TAP broke out. Looks good. Estee Lauder broke out. Hurl was a 1, 2, 3 here. Gap breakout, gap fill could go to $50. This SHC bottom right, look, that's a pro gap right there. That is a pro gap. So you just gotta decide how aggressive you want to be at the open and what your trading plan is. But it's a bullish pre-market. I would say wait 5-minute high and let's hope it doesn't rally too much.
Again, Tesla put spread. Look at this gap down. There's juice down at 162.5.
Yeah, you like fading these things.
Well, I mean, it's going down, 4 or 5 days and broke the prior low. Not saying maybe don't wait a few, but
Well, let's wait at least 5 minutes because
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's the kind of pattern where things typically make a turn.
all right. But yeah, they're very juicy. So yeah, let's watch that 5-minute high. All right, tap is moving, negated the gap down. Hey, Trip, we're still in. Let's move stop here now. Microsoft up alarm. Microsoft and is ripping. So is Google and Amazon on the 15 million. All right, 1998 Trip.